I'm Dan Galushin. Welcome to another edition of Shoot N Plink. Today we're going to be looking at a Ruger SR22. I know, nothing new. That one's been around for a while. It's a good gun, very nice weight. Love the grip on this thing. And here's something you don't hear a lot of people talk about. Right up here, there's a serrated area. And what good would that do? Well, one thing, when you're putting your finger down like this, because as you know, you should not put it in here unless you're going to shoot. You put it there, you know you have it in the right spot. The sights on it, as you can see, are a white dot. The magazine release is right here. Nothing in it. See? It's empty. Definitely empty. Now, it has a hammer, and we're going to put this back here. There, it goes back. Right now there's nothing in it. So you can't cock it without that. It has your safety right here, and it's an ambidextrous one, as you can see, both sides. And as I said, the weight on it is real good for shooting. I like the way the thing shoots. We're going to be firing. I have two magazines. Two magazines come with it, as you've seen the one. We're going to load them up. They do load a little bit different than other magazines like this. I know this is going to sound strange, but it's got a good follower slide here on it. That makes it easy, but when you put your round in, and I don't have one right here handy, you don't just shove it in, you have to kind of put it on an angle and drop it in. That's a little bit different than what I've run into with others. The one like on the Browning, I just take them down and start shoving them in as I'm pushing down, like the Browning 1911, 22, and also the Buckmark. They just load different than these do. They're a different one altogether, but we're going to load up both of those, and we're going to fire them at, let's say, 7 and 10 yards. Qualification is usually 5, 7, and 10 yards, but we're going to just go with the 7 and 10 yards because I do have two magazines on it. I don't know if we'll test it out with some CCI standard ammo, which is a 1070. We might, just to see if it'll cycle, because it's supposed to eat just about anything, just kind of like the Buckmark. Now the Buckmark did. It went through and it took the 1070 and cycled it through very well. So we'll see what it does. But this is actually, to me, this is a good gun if you want a 22 for a self-defense weapon. At least for the home, because this would be a little bit awkward to carry. It's bigger than what you normally have, even though the weight's not all that bad. So we're going to take the thing, we're going to shoot it, and then we're going to talk about it some more. Okay, like I said, we're going to shoot at 7 and 10 yards, and I'm using Winchester M22 ammo. I found that that's been doing pretty good. I see the wind's blowing my target just a little bit. Hopefully she'll stay put. That's a regular pistol target. So we're going to start shooting and see what happens. We're going to move back to 10 yards now. Just so happens the camera's right here at 10 yards, so we'll be seeing what happens there. Had a few misfires actually. Had to cock that hammer back, but it was able to hit it. I haven't been having that with that ammo, so I'm not too sure about it. Not sure. It might be the gun itself. So I'm going to get some 1070 ammo and just see if that'll cycle it through. I really kind of doubt it. So we'll find out. Well, I've loaded only 5 rounds of this in here. Well, let's see what happens. Like I said, it's CCI standard, which is a 1070 velocity, and what I was shooting there was 1255. So we'll see how this works. Very impressed. It cycled it. Cycled 1070 on this gun, so that's nice. Well, now we'll grab the target and we'll talk about it. Well, it shot quite a bit to the right, but maybe it needs a little bit of adjustment. I'm not too sure. I'm sure it does. But from what I was able to hit some right in the center area. As you can see, most of them are within that black 4-inch area, which that's definitely center mass, and that's what I shoot for. Freestanding center mass, that's going to qualify. In fact, everything that landed there is going to qualify. If you're shooting a qualification, it's all right in there, and then so that would have been 150 points. It was on the mark pretty good that way. The thing that impresses me is the fact that it did cycle the 1070 ammunition, 1070 velocity, which is the CCI standard. And you know, not all guns will do that. These semi-automatics are pretty doggone finicky on what they shoot. Such as, well, take for instance the Firefly and the Mosquito, which is basically the same gun. If you don't shoot 1260, 1255 at the lowest, it's not going to cycle. And some of the others are like this, but especially that one. I use that one because that one I know is really finicky. This one, I am impressed, definitely, because this does the same thing as the Buckmark. Even my 1911, my Browning 1911 22 will not cycle at 1070. So for any gun that does that, that'll go down to a lower velocity and go with the higher velocities naturally would, I have got to rate this as a high gun. Very, very good shooter. Another thing that I haven't mentioned on this, and showing it up close again, it has a rail right down here. So if you want to put a laser sight on there, you can. Or if you want to put a light, some people like to put lights on them, that would work too. It's, as I said, there's not a whole lot to say about it. And everybody's reviewed this thing before, the SR22, and most people really like it. Well, I do too. The hammer is nice. That's what I like, is to have that hammer down here. And again, it's not loaded, as you can see. And to have that hammer so that you can, and I reproved the benefit of that, because you'll notice I had misfires. Well, I kept cocking a hammer and firing. Now, whether that's the gun, I don't know, because that same box of M22, I've shot at my Buckmark out of that and never had a misfire, not one. And so it kind of makes me wonder. This one has had some things like this before. I've shot quite a few rounds through this already, and I've had a few misfires with it. And so perhaps it's this gun. Whether it is this particular unit, whether it applies to all of them, I don't know. You guys that have already got SR22s, I don't know if you've had the problem or not. But I have definitely had this problem when I was first shooting it, and in fact every time I've ever shot this, I have had where I've had to cock it and fire again. And by the way, it does have, of course I don't have it loaded, but it, I can't really show you, but it does have a double action to it. But it's a lot easier to cock it and shoot it, because if you use double action, it's pretty hard. And another thing about this is it's got an extremely long trigger pull, and it, you can see like here, well, I have to come back to about there, I guess, to get it to fire. It's a long one. It's not heavy. It's a light trigger pull actually to it, but it's yeah, it does have a long one, I'll tell you. So you might think that you're, and it's also got a long reset. You can come back and it hasn't reset yet. So keep that in mind too. if you get one. But otherwise, I would, yeah, I'd give this, and if you're going to give stars, I don't like that star deal because one thing can go to another or whatever. So I have to give it 4 stars just because of all the little quirks and things that I've talked about in here. So until next time, shoot safe and have a great day of plinking.